Blog Talk Radio.
You're listening to Talent Culture's T-Chat Radio. The World of Work is live now on the radio with Megan M. Biro and Kevin W. Grossman, because middle initials count.
Come down, turn the radio on. Take my hand, turn the radio on. Come on, my favorite song, baby. Let's dance, turn the radio on.
Welcome everybody out there in Talent Culture T-Chat Show land. It is another amazing show. It is Wednesday. It is September 16th. It's 1 p.m. if you're on the East Coast and 10 a.m. if you're on the West. And we've got a great show with you. As always, is Kevin W. Grossman and of course, the lovely and talented Megan M. Biro. Hello, Megan.
Hello, all you people out there. I'm here. I'm present and accounted for. Shout out
there you go.
To Cambridge, Massachusetts, where it still feels like summer for some really weird reasons. So I'm really
hold on
excited
to
about
it, though. Right? Hold on to it.
I'm trying. Believe me, I'm trying, and so is the rest of the world here in New England. And I'm excited because we have a pretty cool group of people on with us today, a brand and a person that I just cannot say enough positive things. And guess where they hail from? New York City. So they're all
there. You go.
Same kind of weather pattern that we are, and they everyone kind of understands us here in New England that. Just enjoy it while it lasts. That's all I'm going to say. That's it.
Yeah. Well, we got a little bit of spit or rain on the West Coast. Actually, Southern California got a little bit of a dump, which was nice for anybody who lives in the West. So and so we're just waiting for El Nino to open up the floodgates. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, and I actually want to send out some hugs and prayers to any of the people out there in California who are dealing with those wildfires.
Yeah,
oh my God.
one of my colleagues, her and her husband, Denny, who works for the talent board, her and her husband had to evacuate. They're back now, home, and they were fine.
Good.
They live around the Angels Camp area, which is in the foothills of Sierra Nevadas, and they had a fire very, very close. So, yeah.
Shout
definitely.
out to Denny and family. I was on that email thread as well, and my heart sank, and it's just I feel so badly. So. We're wishing everybody all the best with all this kooky weather.
Yes, indeed. Well, let's real quick. We want to thank all of our friends and sponsors. We want to thank Dice Jive, of course, who's on the show today, and we're going to get to that in just a second. TalentWise, IBM, Career Builder, PeopleFluent, Smart Search, Workable, iCIMS, our social analytics partner, HR Marketer Insight, as well as, of course, the Candidate Experience Awards, which is the theme for today as it relates to improving and elevating candidate experience. And as everybody knows out there, I've recently joined the talent board myself, and all about moving that mission and becoming, elevating all things candidate experience from a research perspective. So very excited about that. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the fact that today the process for looking for a new job is very personal. It starts with that aha moment, that the realization is, I got to go, got to find something else, got to move somewhere else. And it's really about a life-changing event, and it was interesting because when we did the video preview for the show, it was so funny. We brought up our guest brought up the fact that it's like moving. It's just really life-changing, right? Except that when you're moving, your friends kind of shy away from helping you. And when you're looking for a job, they do help you. So it was kind of a funny moment for us. Anyway, so we're talking about the fact that. Yeah, well, it's just kind of fun, kind of funny. So that's really what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the digital savvy workforce. We're going to talk about what it's like, how career sites represent the largest source of hire, and unfortunately it's still overlooked today by talent acquisition and recruiting leaders, and that's what we're going to hit on. So if you're listening at home, tune in. This will become a podcast as usual as well after the fact, and then 30 minutes in, we'll jump to the Twitter chat portion of the show, and that is what we're going to do. So, Megan?
We?
Yes.
Let's do it. I
Yes.
just want to give a shout out to everybody out there on the Twitters. It's good to see Terry Class, by the way. We're happy to join T-Chat today as well, Terry. So thanks for being with us. Emily Mecklenburg, Emily Meck, shout outs. You know, we still are very much, you know, we're a podcast, but we do still live here on the Twitter. So don't forget us here on the T-Chat Twitter chat. So today, you know, I'm really excited to introduce our guest. And I just want to give a special shout out to Joe Essenfeld, the founder and CEO of Jibe. Joe is traveling at the moment and had a last-minute issue snafu. He came up, and he's sending everybody his very best. We're sorry you're not going to be here with us, but the show must go on, Joe. And I know you guys there at Jibe are going to be hanging out with us today and all week, and want to give you a special thank you for being one of our sponsors. So I'd like to introduce you to somebody very special by the name of Ivan Casanova. He's the SVP of Marketing and Product at Jibe, and he brings more than 20 years of experience in enterprise software marketing and product management. He joined Jibe from Tibco Software, a $1 billion-plus infrastructure software company, where he was kind of the big head honcho there. He was VP of Marketing for about 5 years. Before Tibco, Ivan was the CMO at Data Synapse, the New York City technology startup that basically pioneered new ways for financial institutions to leverage something we call distributed computing. And I know we have other names for that by now. You know, and Ivan, you guys will see. He is a really high-energy, amazing person. He lives on Long Island with his wife, 2 sons, and they even have a new puppy, which I want to hear a little bit more about. Maybe he's even got some visuals to show us along the way. And, you know, when he's not working, which I wonder when that is sometimes, he likes to kind of hang out and relax and play golf and watch his son play soccer. So welcome, Ivan.
Hello, Megan. How are you? Hello, Kevin. It's awesome to be here. I'm so excited about the topic that we're going to talk about today, and I think that more importantly, I'm a big fan of the show, and so this is a real treat for me to be here on the show with you guys. I'm a faithful listener and participant, and it's really awesome to be here.
Well, it's awesome to have you. Welcome. So tell us, you know, first off, Ivan, you know, I kind of shed some light on your background and your basic career path, but what led you specifically to candidate experience and this topic that we're talking about today?
Yeah, so I spent 20 years working for big enterprise software companies. One of the things that I'm super passionate about is trying to figure out how large organizations are going to adopt new technologies. We worked at a company many years ago where the first sets of cloud computing applications were adopted, by the largest enterprises out there. That was a lot of fun working on that. When I decided I was going to make a career change, I definitely wanted to work for a small company. I wanted to work for a company that sat at the intersection of data and mobility and social computing and apps. And I interviewed with a whole bunch of companies, and then I met Joe, who's the CEO and founder of Jibe. And, we hit it off right away, and I felt like this was the kind of guy that I really could partner up with to help change something that I think really needed to be changed. And Joe explained to me in the very first time I ever met him that for many of the world's most, progressive brands out there, they really weren't doing a good enough job on their career sites and promoting those brands. And they really weren't building an experience for that people were used to on the web. And that as a company and him personally, and now, definitely, I'm completely invested in that now. As a company, we're here to change that. We think that candidates who are looking for jobs are at a life moment that's transformative for themselves. I think it's a really personal thing to find a new job. I think sometimes in the industry we forget that. And the folks here at Jibe, all the engineers who are sitting on the other side of the glass right now listening in, we're trying to fix that. We're trying to make it so that people who are online looking for work, looking for investigating career opportunities, that they get the same kind of experience that they get when they order a car from Uber or they order a book from Amazon or they look up a sports score on ESPN. That's what Jibes is all about, trying to make that consumer level experience every single time somebody interacts with an employee brand.
Couldn't have said it better myself, I tell you. You know, when, in your opinion, did looking for a job become so commoditized? And how has that affected candidate experience?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that, there are these amazing technologies out there which we take for granted, right? Search is one that I think is taken for granted. Mobile is one that we take for granted. And if you just think about that all of the world's information has been indexed and is available to anyone who has one of these internet-connected mobile devices, when that became something that we took for granted, that's when the whole job-seeking experience was commoditized, right?
Yeah.
And at that moment, now what I have every piece of information at my fingertips, the idea that somebody else can control how I look for work, or that somebody's going to control how I would research a company that I feel really passionate about, or that, this is some other kind of organization is going to control how I'm going to perceive the employee brand of a company, that all got shattered. Every piece of information is at everybody's fingertips, and now you have the opportunity to do all that on your own. And I think when that becomes more pervasive amongst people, and I think the younger generation of folks who are now entering the workforce, the generation that's been in the workforce for the last 5 to 10 years, that generation takes that for granted. That is when it became a commodity, and I think that's when candidate experience started to rise to the forefront of people's discussions, and I think now we're just starting to see the first set of really cool and interesting technologies come out that's going to make that really better.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question just really quickly?
Go ahead.
Are you always this passionate, Ivan? Your passion is like oozing through the podcast and Twitter right now. And somebody even gave you a shout out on that. So amazing stuff. I mean, you clearly, when I look at you, you're an SVP of marketing, but you're somebody who you really get the sense that this matters to you deeply in terms of the product and the community that's being built around it. So amazing stuff.
Well, I appreciate that, and for the folks on Twitter who shouted out to me, I appreciate it. We're going to jump on the Twitter part. I can't do two things at once, though, so I'm going to focus on the conversation, and I'll come back to the Twitter part in a bit. One thing, to answer your question, though, Megan, I just really wanted to just make a comment about that is, and I tell everybody who works for me, so my whole team is sitting around the table right now, and they're monitoring all the Twitter components of it. I tell them all the time, I love the web. Right? We have to love it because it's such an awesome thing, and we're going to try to make it so that it's the same experience for people who look for a job as when I touch my watch and an Uber car shows up in front of my office. Like, that's the kind of experience that we want to give people, and I think when we do that, I think that the clients who work with Jibe are going to end up hiring better people, and it's going to cost them less money, and they'll do that a little faster. And I think if we can do all those things, then I think then we're doing a good job for our clients.
Let me jump in and touch on data a little bit, because Ivan, I know you're a big fan of data and how important it is, especially to this theme, this mission, this topic. And I know that, and also touching on your point about newer technologies that are helping to deliver a better experience, right? Because at the Talent Board's Candidate Experience Awards data, from now hundreds and thousands of candidate responses, we've got a huge repository of data now. That it shows again and again and again that how important elevating the candidate experience is, from the first touch point all the way through onboarding. But why do you think that? Is it just the age-old problem of mid to large-size organizations struggling with legacy processes and technologies? Why are we still struggling to fix it? What do you think?
I think it's a great question. When I first joined Jibe, one of the first things we did was we launched the Data-Driven Recruiter. It's It's a Twitter persona. It's a blog that we write, and it is almost nothing to do with Jibe other than the fact that it's an educational resource for recruiters and talent acquisition professionals to learn more about how data can impact their daily lives and their work. And the reason that we did it, the reason that we launched Data Driven Recruiter, more than anything else, is we heard over and over again that this is a people industry. These are people who kind of gravitate to work in the industry. And I think that's fairly true. I think everybody's really focused on the human interaction levels of talent acquisition, and that's kind of the DNA, the perspective that they bring to their work every day. And what it really reminded me of was, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, when I was, running a pretty big marketing organization, and my CEO dragged me into the office. And he was this really powerful guy. He was, had built this really big company, and he was a terrifying individual if you were on his bad side. And he looked at me with this really stern face, and he said, Ivan, I want to track every click. I want to track every like. I want to track every dollar. I want to know exactly what people are doing on our website, and I want to know it right now. Go make that happen. And when we started to think about every click and every like and every interaction that people were having with us online, every email that they opened, we started to get this really broad perspective about how people were interacting with our company and how people would want to work with us and what kind of things they found interesting. And it transformed everything about the way we did marketing. And then there was all these amazing tools that we had at our disposal that gave us that data, and we could use that data. And then the CEO started changing his tune, and we started giving him data. Because then he'd say stuff like, well, Ivan, I believe every word you're saying. Now show me the data. And we started to make data-driven decisions about the way we ran our business and the way we ran our company, and we were a better company because of it. And we got better at it. And that's the opportunity that we have to use data in talent acquisition. We can stop just guessing about what we think are the best sources of hire, and we can use data to govern our investments and our strategies and the way we approach our work in a way that we were never able to do before. So that's the big opportunity with data, right? It isn't so much about...
I just want to say something. As somebody who wore a recruiter hat for many years, us recruiters, many of us who got into the industry, got into it. I got into it first and foremost because I loved people, and I had kind of big heart for solving people's career issues. But I also got into it because I had a business mind and heart, so it was both of those things. But we do have a lot of recruiters and HR practitioners who still hear the word data, and they freeze up because they go, ooh, are we keeping people and culture first in this conversation? And what I'm thrilled to unfold, and I have been for weeks and weeks and months, is the fact that I think we're now, as you pointed out, Ivan, earlier in this discussion, we're kind of now, we have enough data where the stories all add up, and we're like, we can do both. You can have data, and you can still have culture and heart, and connect people with people. And I think that's always been that core point for practitioners who haven't really wanted to, or leaders or cultures who haven't really wanted to talk about the adoption around data. Yeah,
and I think what we're starting to see now. The byproduct of the work that's gone on for many, many years around making recruiting more data-driven actually start to have a real impact. Couldn't even talk, I can't talk much more about data without really commenting the amazing work that's gone on at Talent Culture, how the Candies really are, the leading light here around how data is going to be applied to recruiting. Couldn't, really talk. We really shouldn't talk about it without really commenting on the great work that goes on in that organization. I think, we're lucky that you guys have that kind of time and effort to make that happen.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, Kevin and I are really both very proud to be part of that, and part of the movement to just educate and to share data and to share stories, because that's what brings community together ultimately, and that is, I think, the key long-term for more adoption.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I think that the more data that we have and the more that we let the data tell the story and govern our decision-making and our strategy and our investments, I think that the better product that we'll deliver back to the businesses that we support. And I think that's interesting in that I think a lot of other parts of organizations are already doing that. I think marketing and finance and the whole financial planning aspect of many businesses is so data driven. We got to make talent acquisition and recruiting the same way.
And I'll tell you, I'll just a quick interjection on that. We can move on to the next. I just want to say yes, and it's the same is true for for-profit and nonprofit, because we can never forget that at the end of the day, this is about quote unquote business. We're doing this. We want to have a great place to work. We want to have a great culture. We want to have data help us make better business decisions. But it's the business that, with the growing of that's generating revenue, that rewards us for the job that we're doing, right? So it all is symbiotic. It has to have all those components. Anyway, there you go.
So I'm gonna kind of deal with the elephant in the room right now, because that's one of my specialties, as Ivan knows. I mean, mobile recruiting and job searching isn't new, right? Why do we still have so many companies that are only now putting together responsive design career sites for applicants and actually making mobile accessible for recruiters and hiring managers? I mean, I'm stumped. I've been for a while on this. I mean, what are the first things companies should do to try to make that transition to mobile everywhere?
Sure. I think fundamentally the transformation that has to happen in our own minds is really, really simple. I think that the industry has to start to view candidate experience through the eyes of a job seeker, right? I think that the industry for many years has looked at it from a recruiter's perspective out. And I think that's great, and I think it's important, right? But if you look at e-commerce, if you look at media consumption, all of the gates for people to access content, all of the gates for people to access media, all of the gates for people to access news and information have been broken down. We live in a self-service world. That's where the bar is, and the web has enabled that. Now we need to bring that same thinking to talent acquisition. And I think the way to do that is to really start to think about and view candidate experience through the eyes of a job seeker. We tell people all the time, take out your phone, try to apply for a job, see how hard it is.
Yeah, right.
Take out your phone, Google your company and jobs, and see how bad that experience is. And let's work together to fix that. If we can do that as an organization, if we can do that as an industry, then I tell you what will happen. People, consumers, the job seekers themselves are going to get a better experience. They're going to feel better about the brands that are doing a good job. So the brands that are doing a good job and investing in these areas are going to get rewarded with more candidates and better quality of hire and lower cost hiring, all the benefits that they want. And then the other organizations who get left behind, they're going to be forced into investing more, right? So that, to me, is the tipping point for candidate experience, is viewing the jobs through the eyes of a job seeker.
Absolutely, hands down. And apply for your own jobs. Go through your own process. I mean, that's one of the mantras of the candies for years now, is that go through your own process. Take the time to do that. How long does it take you to fill the application out? Are you getting notified? I mean, just everything from every touch point. So tell us then, just to kind of summarize, as we wind down this portion of the show, Ivan, what are three things that you all recommend, especially that companies do with their career site to design to make it a candidate magnet? What are the three things they should do?
Sure, it's really simple. Number one, SEO optimized landing pages. Number one, 75% of people's job searches start on Google. You got to optimize that site for SEO, number one. And then when I say that's a combination of great SEO and a landing page that's personalized to the experience. So that if somebody goes onto Google and says, I'm looking for a housekeeping job in New York City, that when they click on your company site, they land on a page that has been customized to housekeeping jobs in New York City. The jobs are there. The description of what that career path looks like is there. That's number one. I think that's a great experience. Number two, give people an opportunity to opt into your organization that's less significant than just an application flow, right? So give them job alerts so they can one click apply to and jump into a job alerts relationship with you so that you can nurture them.
Hold on. Wait, a job alerts relationship? Is that what you just said?
No, I like that.
Yeah. In email, we work in marketing.
Wow, that's deep.
But Megan, it's so true. Here's, in marketing, we say when we ask somebody for an email address, we are now entering into a relationship together. I've asked you for a piece of your own personal privacy, so now I have to value that relationship and give you back some content that's meaningful.
Now I'm seeing your marketing hat come on in a big way, Ivan. That's where
way.
You and I we have a dividing line, but it's all good. You know what I mean? Yeah, no, it's true.
I fall into his camp. I fall into his camp. So
yeah. Yes.
And the third one, just to complete the loop though, the third one is you got to have end-to-end mobile, right? One of our clients, is the company that is a food retailer, and they just had this, huge, massive hire, multiple thousands of people in one day, and they realized that you got to have a great mobile process to make that happen. And the reason being is that there's a whole generation of people who, for mobile, it is the internet. Our friends over at the Pew Internet Research Group, they do some amazing kind of broad internet statistics gathering for us, and they make it publicly available on their website. They say that a third of the people out there in the U.S. only access the web through mobile only. They don't have a PC. So if you don't have end-to-end mobile across everything that you're doing, you are eliminating 1/3 of the talent pool. And that is a significant opportunity right there.
Yeah, that's huge. We're down to less than 3, so why don't we have Ivan tell us about your highly creative candidate experience campaign that you launched recently.
Oh, thank you. That's awesome. Yeah, love to. We're on a mission. We're on a mission to educate the industry to see candidate experience and view candidate experience through the eyes of a job seeker. So we've developed a campaign. It's running on our blog right now. Anybody can go to jive.com/seize, and it stands for Seize Their Moment. So it's an educational, inspirational series of blog posts that takes the reader through a journey through the eyes of two fictitious job seekers, but they represent something really important that's why we really love it. The work that's going on here at Jive around this is they represent two people who've had that moment. That moment that's a very personal moment that says, I need a new job. I'm not happy in the work that I have, or I have to do something bigger for myself or for my family, and I want to change. And in that moment, when they've made that emotional decision, how are you going to capture their attention? Because that may be the perfect person for your organization. That may be your purple squirrel. That may be that person who's going to fill that really hard-to-fill job, and you've only got a really short window to capture that person's attention, so you better be able to make that investment to make that happen. And that's the conversation point that we're having on the blog. That's the education that we're trying to drive there. And we've had some really great responses. It's a really interesting take, and we urge everybody to go to www.jive.com/seize and follow the journey of Nick and Zoe, because I think it's a really interesting perspective for the industry.
Excellent.
And I appreciate your team's creativity around that. I think it's awesome. Thank you for being part of our podcast today, being part of our greater HR leadership and social community. You guys rock in a major way, and let's take this conversation onto Twitter and the social blogosphere and beyond. It's an important one, and the more we talk about it, the more it becomes real and backed by data, and that's exciting. These are exciting times for us. So
awesome.
Thank you.
They are.
Hey guys, thanks for the opportunity to do this. We really appreciate it. I was really excited to do it, and I'm looking forward to the next half hour too, where the rest of the conversation happens online.
Yep. Thank you, Ivan.
Cool. All right. See everybody on Twitter.
All right.